Hey y'all, hi. So I, along with my little family, recently went on a whirlwind trip to Portland, Oregon, a city in which my husband and I lived for a really long time. We have a lot of community there. It was fun to visit. And one of the highlights is that my good friend Liz took me consignment shopping at a handful of consignment shops that are fairly new, I believe, to Portland, and that blew me out of the water. I'm sort of a connoisseur of secondhand shopping. When I tell you my mind was blown, I came away with a haul, an unprecedentedly large haul for me. I purchased 6 items across 3 different consignment shops. I'm just going to go through them one by one and talk through my reasoning. Why did I decide to buy all of them? Why did I decide to buy each one? It'll be fun to show them to you, but I think that the really valuable takeaways from this video will be about that kind of decision making, especially when secondhand shopping, when everything's kind of a find and you often have to make a game time decision. How do you make sure you're not going to regret buying the thing, or that you're not going to regret not buying the thing? I mean, there are no guarantees, but what was my thinking in this case, and how can we all apply that going forward? You get the idea. It's just a haul, okay? It's a haul of thrifted / secondhand items. I'm Hannah. I'm a poet. I'll link my book down below. And my day job is this. I make videos about fashion and beauty on YouTube. I hope you'll subscribe if you never have done that. And let's get into the meat of this video. I'm a mess. It's fine. Okay, so the first shop that Liz took me to is called Vein of Gold. I'm giving you all the deets in case you happen to live in Portland or in case you visit. And my toddler was with us on this trip, so, I could only kind of half pay attention. I wasn't able to go through every single item with a gimlet eye the way that I like to do. I like to be thorough in a good consignment shop. No, it was like casting around, being like, is there anything here that was meant for me? And it was there ever? Are we saving the best for first? I think we're doing the best first, because the most shocking and unexpected purchase, and the thing that was by far the biggest investment, like by far the most expensive, was one of the first things I bought, and it was at Vein of Gold. Actually, I'm going to save it for second. Okay, I'm saving it for second because I bought 2 things there. And the first was kind of shocking as well, actually, because look, it's tie-dyed sweatpants. So these are handmade, hand-dyed in Portland. The brand is Anna Joyce, and I actually looked it up when I got home, and it's an Etsy shop. And I couldn't really find any other sweatpants. I think it's just like a lightly maintained Etsy shop, someone who does this like hand dyeing and hand sewing of clothes. These are extremely long, extremely oversized, very lightweight, soft sweatpants. And I got them partly for that reason, because that's the kind of thing that I wear a lot of and love. It's hard for me to find super oversized pants in length. So when I first put them on, I was like, whoa, this is unexpected for me. But the tie-dye is not my usual vibe, and the pink tie-dye is not my usual vibe. However, when I had them on, I was like, I don't want to take these off. Like I in my body rebels at the idea of taking these off. I was like, if I buy these and take them home, and they weren't super inexpensive, they were definitely unworn, right? They were brand new. And I think that they might have been between I think they're around $40, maybe between $40 and $50. So kind of like brand new. That's like buying something brand new. So they were secondhand, but it wasn't like a steal. The thing about the tie-dye is this. I was with my friend Liz, and when my kid was born a couple of years ago, Liz came to visit, and she brought a tie-dyed onesie for him, this purple tie-dyed onesie that she gave to me. It was a hand-me-down from her own kid, as kind of a joke, because I was deep in my beige minimalism era. I was very in it. And we've talked about this a lot lately on the channel, right? The kind of overcorrecting into aesthetic minimalism that I did, and now I'm sort of slowly swinging back to some kind of center, some kind of moderation with that. I was deep in it at the time. It's everything was cream. And Liz was like, I am bringing some tie-dye and some color into your life and into your child's wardrobe. And she did it sort of to needle me, but also genuinely. She genuinely felt that that was necessary. And so it was great. It was a great moment between us. And then the purple tie-dyed onesie looked so amazing on my child. It was just it really suited him, and I wouldn't have gotten him something like that. It was one of the many, many things that have inserted little tiny wedges in my overcommitment to aesthetic minimalism and allowed me to soften a little bit, okay? So the tie-dye, I was with Liz, I was with my kid. The tie-dye reminds me of her, and it reminds me of Portland. And so it just felt kismet. It felt kismet. And the fact that there was that sentimental reason to be drawn to these, and that the structure of them, the length and the physical comfort was undeniable. And the fact that I know that there's a place in my wardrobe for this type of thing, that was what made me decide to buy them. So those were all of the factors when it came to this. Risky and unlike me, right? You all are probably like, really, Hannah, you bought those pink tie-dyed sweatpants? Like, that seems unlike you, right? I know. But those were all the reasons why it happened. Also, if I'm going to have tie-dye, it's going to be this like rainbow, multicolored, artistic, organic looking tie-dye. Like, this is just, it is objectively stunning, right? Looks like a galaxy or like a geode or something. I think if it had been a more basic tie-dye, I wouldn't have bought them, right? I do really like everything about them, and they are the most worn. Well, that might not be true, but I have already worn them a lot since buying them. Okay, are you ready for this is it, the big one. Are you ready? There are similar aspects to this because there are also some things about this purchase that are shocking that one might think would go against my usual level of rigor about what does and doesn't belong in my wardrobe and what is and isn't worth spending over $100 on. And that's why I'm making this video, because that's interesting. This is a pair of Louboutin shoes. And when I first saw them on the shelf, I looked straight past them because they are cobalt blue. And it's just not in my palette. It is not in my palette at all, except for that one Baba sweater. That one Baba sweater. So I've said this before, that cobalt blue in the form of that one wool sweater is like a power color in my wardrobe because it is the opposite of everything. I tend towards neutrals and warm tones. Something so shockingly blue as this, it's going to stand out sharply and provide contrast against literally any outfit that I might ever wear. It is a complete statement color for me. And I have that one sweater and it does function that way, right? And I have sort of a love-regret relationship with that sweater. I've said before, I kind of wish I had bought it in cream, but part of me kind of doesn't because there's this friction there. I want to like lean into that and learn more about that, right? So that was sort of the precedent. But the thing that really sold me is this. I tried them on because I saw the size. They are size 41, which I wear like an 8.5, sometimes a 9 in US sizing. And so in European sizing, especially designer shoes that tend to run a size small, 41, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that might actually be my size in Louboutins. I tried them on. They fit perfectly. They fit like I myself was the one who broke them in, and they're broken in. And here's the thing with a pair of Louboutins. I have wanted a pair of Louboutins for my whole life, right? Since I was in utero, I wanted a pair, but I'm not going to buy it full price for a couple of reasons. One, they're very expensive and it's not a practical enough purchase for me to make sense. Unless I'm someday wildly wealthy, which there's really no chance of me ever becoming. According to how my prospects are looking, I will not be buying a pair of Louboutins new because of the cost and because of the practicality, right? For me, which is fairly low. Also, they are so uncomfortable. They're like famously, notoriously uncomfortable. And so buying them new, they're extra uncomfortable until they're broken in. Buying them secondhand is the perfect compromise, the perfect way to do it because they're already broken in. You can try them on in person in the shop and make sure that they feel good on your feet, like as good as a pair of lubes are ever going to feel. And they're not full price. So I've been looking every consignment shop I've ever been in, every time I've ever seen a pair of Louboutins anywhere close to my size, I've tried them on. They've never felt comfortable or fit right or been affordable for me because even secondhand, often they're like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So these, I put them on. They fit perfectly, almost comfortable actually, which pretty much shocked me. Then I checked the price and they were $148. Which is expensive for a pair of relatively impractical shoes, but shockingly low for a pair of secondhand Louboutins in really good shape. Like, look, I mean, clearly they've been worn, but they are, structurally sound, like really, really good shape. It's like if I had had them for maybe 6 months, this is how they would look, And the heel caps are in gorgeous condition. They might even have been replaced. So I had them on. I was like, oh my God, these Louboutins are only $148 and they feel amazing on my feet. And then I looked in the mirror and they're absolutely stunning. It's not the color I would have thought for myself, but they have this unusual low cut, like the toes peep out. And that makes the line of the leg really, really long. They have these gold heels, which, when you're wearing them, the heels like reflect light and reflect the ground and it kind of makes the heel look invisible. I'm such a sucker for that kind of thing. So I put them on as a lark, and then the more I wore them around the store, the more I was like, these feel like my shoes. Like, these feel like the Louboutins I've been waiting for, and I just didn't know exactly what they were going to look like. And if I kept holding on to the fantasy of like the perfect black Louboutins or the perfect nude, my nude Louboutins, I might never get there. I think it would have been a more obvious and easy decision if they had been my nude, or even if they had been black. But I almost think if they'd been black, they would have cost more, because this is sort of like an out there shoe, whereas a pair of black Louboutins is like, you know what I mean? That's like a high-end chef's knife or something, you know, like everybody wants, and it's easy to wear and easy to buy. So they just, all of a sudden, without me even realizing it, they like crept up on me and checked all my boxes. And I turned to Liz and I was like, I think I'm going to buy these. The other thing is my kid was running around the store being fairly respectful and like overexcited. And he kept gravitating towards this like cobalt blue satin dress and just gushing over it. Like, look at this blue dress, look, this blue. It was exactly this color. He kept drawing my attention to that blue color. And that also kind of it just all felt comfortable. Everything was working. Everything was slotting into place. I had a budget to do a little shopping with Liz in Portland, and these things were well within the budget. And it just felt easy. And I think that this is one of the things that I kind of wanted to work out and talk about with you all in the comments, talk about on camera, is that I tend to be quite faithful to things when I'm making purchases, to things that are absolutely expected, guaranteed, sure things. Like, I know exactly what I want. You know, I've made videos about this. I'll make like a Pinterest board with all the things that interest me, and then I'll review it and sort of read it like a paper and distill it down to define for myself exactly what it is I'm interested in, and then always shop only within those parameters. That, I think, is a good general strategy. But one of the interesting things about this shop, only this, because I think for the rest of the things that I purchased on this trip, I followed through in that way. I only purchased things that were obviously very me, very easy decisions. But in Vein of Gold, this first place, I just went wild a little bit and I purchased these two things that are really exciting and kind of disruptive to my usual kind of controlled, contained vibe for myself. And so, like, why did I do that? I think I've explained a lot of the reasons already, the specific reasons related to the things, and then the reason at large, which kind of has to do with wanting to let my style breathe a little bit and be a little bit quirkier. I was really allowing myself to do that with the impulsivity that was required to make these two purchases of things that I had never really imagineered for myself, right? Not exactly in this way. When I put them on, they just felt so right, and I just didn't question it too much. And I'm so happy about it, right? Whenever I think about them, think about getting to wear the sweatpants again after I wash them, because I really need to wash them, the first chance I get, I'm going to be wearing these to something. And I just think about how exciting that's going to be for me and how glad I'm going to be that I bought them and how worth the price that they are for me. Like, just with what my budget is, with what they represent to me, they do feel like they were a steal. If they'd been $200, I think it would have been much harder for me to decide to buy them, and I might not even have bought them. But at $148, it was like just the right amount to make me feel like, oh my gosh, it's an easy decision. For what it's worth, right? All of that sort of scandalous tie-dye and cobalt Louboutin buying that I did, I don't regret it. And it makes me think about something that some of you have mentioned from time to time as in videos in which I've talked about decision-making with shopping and recovering from overspending and overconsumption, which is that some of you have noticed that I tend to be the most effusive about and get the most joy out of purchases, especially unexpected purchases, when I go shopping with friends or with family. So there's a story attached to it, and it was like an activity that we did together, and it kind of unlocks something. Right? Like, I think if I hadn't been with Liz, I might not have bought either of those things. There's just something about the vibe of us together. And so the purchases represent a continuation of life lived in community and lived with people. And so it sort of integrates fashion into history and community, which is really how it should be, right? Instead of this kind of like isolated, really carefully engineered and controlled thing, like your personal style that you create behind closed doors and then you kind of like force it through. I think the internet really makes it feel like that. It feels so different, right? Purchasing these two things feels so different than endlessly, obsessively scrolling, even a secondhand clothing store online, like the Real after bedtime, like until my eyes start crossing, like trying to find the perfect thing. It feels so different from that. And these two purchases from Vein of Gold, they're both things that I wouldn't have bought on the Real because it was the physical reality of them was what compelled me. It's a real vote for doing things, for getting off your screen and doing the things in person, basically. So next we went to Circle Round, where I got to meet the lovely Sadie. One of you, Sadie, I hope you're watching. We were in this shop, Liz and I had picked up a couple of things to try on. And Sadie, who worked at the shop, came over to take the thing, said, like, can I start a dressing room for you? And then she looked up and saw my face and she was like, Hannah. I was like, I knew right away. I knew right away. I was like, you must have seen me on YouTube. And we had a great hug. It was so awesome. It is really meaningful to me to meet subscribers in person because it is such a weird and isolating job. I'm like literally, as we speak, sitting here alone in a room in my house in front of some very bright lights and a camera and just talking in an empty room. And it can be hard, I think, for me psychologically and even like physically to integrate the understanding that a great many real people are out there on the receiving end of this, because it feels so alone. I feel so alone, actually, and I feel like I'm doing this alone. Every time I've met someone in person who knows me from my videos, it's sort of like paradigm shifting. And once again, it's like the theme. It helps me feel more connected and more like I'm living real life and not like a weird digital life. So I'm so glad that I ran into Sadie at Circle Round. And it's an amazing shop, beautifully curated. I love the things I got there. So this is much more obvious stuff for me. So this is the first piece. It's just a linen blouse from J. Crew. It's cropped. It was new with tags. So it actually wasn't inexpensive. I think it's kind of like the price that it would cost if it was on sale at J. Crew and then on clearance at J. Crew. I think it was maybe between like $50 and $60, which is kind of a lot for a single shirt. But I put it on and it just looked so natural on me. And I've been looking for like a long sleeve but cropped. This is the exact kind of thing I love to wear in the summer. Like I'll wear it as soon as it's clean. It'll wash beautifully. It's the kind of thing I just reach for first. I recognized it right away as that, and it looked really natural with the pants that I was wearing. Liz was like, it looks like you already own it. Why are you even agonizing over it? I love this. I've seen a lot of brands do this lately, this like the buttons with this open diamond. I love this kind of thing. I love it when it's sheer, and it is sheer. I love it when it's sheer. I love it when you can see. I love it when it's like, are you wearing a top? I don't know. Is it a tissue? Like your whole body. Like I just love that. But it has long sleeves. So it's this combination of revealing and demure that really gets me going. And it's black. Just everything about it is perfectly balanced. I couldn't have designed it better myself. And I was very happy to have stumbled across it. And it's a medium. It's just everything about it is perfect. And then even more boring, but purchased for very similar reasons, just this tank top from a brand called North of West, which I don't even heard of them. I'm going to look them up right now. Oh, it's also North of West. It looks like it was a Portland-based independent shop that maybe either their website is defunct or they closed. So that's special because it's like also made in Portland. I didn't realize that at the time. Cotton linen, once again, just the kind of thing that will go directly into rotation. I still, after all of these years, have way more winter clothes than summer clothes. So summer rolls around always and I'm like, where are the basics? Where are the like lush basics that I can just reach for, wash, wear, the things that I'm wearing weekly, like literally at least once a week? Where are they? I tend to like come up short. When it gets really hot, I tend to come up short. So both of these blouses will serve that exact purpose. And Liz and I both knew right away. And this one was pretty affordable. I think it was like $20 or something like that. And it felt a little boring, especially after the Louboutins, the tie-dye sweatpants. It felt a little boring to be like spending $20 on just a basic linen tank. I will wear it so much and I will never question it. And it'll pay for itself immediately, like the cost per wear immediately. I will definitely get the cost per wear down under $1 per wear. These are the gems for which we thrift in the totally opposite sense, right? I feel like the Louboutins and then this black linen cotton tank represent the two extreme ends of the spectrum of gems that one can find at a thrift shop. One is the like work of art that you would never be able to afford if you bought it straight from the designer. And the other is like just your perfect basic. And it's so affordable that you want to jump for joy. And you're like, wow, I'm so glad that I was able to buy this for $20 instead of $50 because I would have bought it for $50 when I got halfway through the summer and I realized that I really needed tops. The third thing that I found at Circle Round was, I think, the most exciting and the most relevant to our project here on the YouTube channel hannahlouiseboston.com/net.edu. Look at this magical gem. Look at this unexpectedly magical item. So this is vintage. It didn't have a tag, unbranded. It feels like it is absolutely cotton, but who knows where it's from? I mean, it could be just... who knows? It could be anything. It could be vintage. It could be like a random swimsuit cover-up from some random brand and someone just took off the tag. Who knows? I would wager that it's cotton. And it is literally just the exact thing that I have been talking about, that I talked about recently in that video about trends. Wait, what was the video? Reacting to fashion trends? What was the video? Oh, ways to make your spring and summer outfits look amazing. And I was talking about just like the weird layered crocheted tablecloth half apron thing that I'm seeing everybody wearing, right? This is literally that, like layering this over pants, and it's also sheer, and it has these big round things. And when you put it on, there's one like they're like that, which I think is very funny. It's just perfect for trying out that trend. I got it. I held it up and I was like, I think the YouTube channel's budget can buy this, because I can use it to test out that trend and make content, like make a video about trying to style that trend essentially, or just incorporate it into a style video at large. It felt like a work investment for the channel, and it was quite affordable. It was like $28. Yeah, the tag's still on $28. So I just feel like it's so on trend. It's so quirky. It's so lucky to have come across it. I was just talking about it. It's relevant to my work. Everything about it is perfect for me to lean into this like weird trend of layering crochet sheer stuff that I love talking about in abstract, but it's like, I don't want to go out making a bunch of purchases, spending a bunch of money to test out a trend that I just want to talk about in theory. Finding it at a consignment shop, finding it secondhand, and finding such like a good one. You know, it's not like weird fast fashion in order to test out a trend. It's like, this is the ideal way to test out a trend, which is another thing that we've talked about before in the comments, and then I've talked about on this channel, going to a thrift shop and getting something if you're not totally sure that you like the trend. It's a sustainable way to test a trend. It's sustainable in multiple ways. One is that it is more economically sustainable often. Right? It was way better to buy this for $28 than to buy it for $100 if I'm just going to be like trying to style it for all of our edification. But it's also more ecologically sustainable. Just buying things secondhand in general is. And it's one of the reasons that I was willing to spend $60 on the J. Crew blouse, even though there's a chance that it would have been reduced to $50 on sale at J. Crew. You know, I wasn't there being like, well, this doesn't seem like a very good deal. It's just so much better in so many ways to buy something secondhand. So I was willing to pay the $50 or $60, whatever that blouse was, because it feels like I feel wholeheartedly glad to buy it in that setting in a way that I don't always feel when I buy things, even things that I know that I'm going to love and wear. So that was a great trip to Circle Round. And then I had kind of gotten to the point where I was like, okay, if I come across the most perfect thing ever, I can like sort of dig into future months' budgets because it's a special occasion and buy it and then later tighten my belt. It wasn't like I absolutely needed to stop shopping and not look at a single other thing. But I was feeling like I had spent what I thought I was going to spend, and I was feeling quite reluctant to, repeat the performance of the Louboutins. There was one more shop to go to, but as we went to it, I was like, I'm going to be thinking of it kind of as an art gallery and not really looking for, especially not the expensive gem. I sort of was like counting it out mentally, the expensive gem, because I had kind of reached the limit for my budget for shopping in Portland. And it's a good thing that I had that perspective, because the third shop we went to, which was called Deep Lake, y'all, this is the one that I continue to dream of. Everything was the curation of this one was like avant-garde designer, more minimal, lots of sheer. Everything was like sheer. Everything was very me. Everything was very me. Like I could easily have bought 4 things immediately without even thinking about it if I had the money, and loved them. It's just like Helmut Lang and Issey Miyake and like just the brands that I'm always just like, oh, I wish I was cool enough. like the really cool brands that I wish it was cool enough to wear, and that maybe if I could find the right thing, I could be. There were a lot of things in that shop that I just had to pretend I hadn't seen, because otherwise I would have been too tempted to try them on, and they were like $320 or something, and I had already spent my $300, right? It was amazing to be there, and it was amazing in the way of like going to a fancy boutique or going to a museum, even though it was designer consignment. Everything was expensive for me at that moment, but way less expensive than it would have been new. I look forward to going back there. I think if we'd gone there first, everything would have unfolded very differently. Like things would have unfolded very differently, but I'm fine with the way that it went. However, in and amongst these really stunning designer pieces, there were some pieces that were not as high-end, but that kind of fit the aesthetic and were priced accordingly. And this sweater was one of them. Look at this. This was like the vibe of the curation of the shop. And so you can see it's very me. Of all of the things I've shown you today, this is the most HLP, right? This is the most me, easiest for me to wear, most aligned with my wardrobe, and it's 100% cotton. It's knitted. It's very cropped, as you'll see in the footage. And I have been wishing for this exact thing, like cotton, so it's not too hot for transitional weather, and cropped a sweater. A lot of my sweaters are they're oversized and they're like really long, and they work awkwardly with some of my pants. And when I just want to layer something, I've been on the lookout. This is one that I have like imagineered. I've been on the lookout for a very cropped, cream-colored cotton sweater with long arms, right? There have been times in the past couple months when I've like reached for it and it's not there, like a ghost in my closet. And I'm like, when am I going to find the thing to fill it? So we walk into Deep Lake, I see it hanging there and I'm like, oh, and then I go up and look at it and it's Zara. So it's like, it was not expensive to begin with. And it was priced at like $23 or something in this shop full of things that were around $200 that had cost thousands of dollars new and that were being sold for $200, $300. This probably cost $60 new at Zara and it was being sold for just like between $20 and $25. It's sort of like the combination of the two types of gem, right? More on this side, more on the like black tank top end of the spectrum. But everything about it is perfect. I think I probably would have been willing to buy it even if it was twice as much, although it would have hurt. At this price, it didn't at all. It was just quite the stroke of luck, right? It was a stroke of extreme luck for me because I love it so much. And even though the sweatpants are loungewear, I've worn this the most. I've worn it to dinner with friends. I've worn it around the house. I wore it to my therapy session. I can't stop wearing it. It's so perfect. And I feel like it immediate icon status in my wardrobe because it's so balanced and still has some quirky qualities and it's just everything about it. Everything about it is perfect. And I think you can tell it's supposed to be this way. It's asymmetrical. My concern when I first saw it was that it would look like a mistake, but it's really been well executed. I think that it really works. Maybe not on camera as well, but in person you can really tell that it's not as though it's supposed to be here and it's off. It's really, you can really tell. And you know, I love an asymmetrical garment. All right, this video is taking forever. I'm so sorry that I've gone on for so long about the 6 measly things that I purchased in Portland. You know, I don't really have any grand pieces of wisdom. I think it can just be helpful. The decision-making process around shopping is often something that goes on slightly subconsciously, internally, is stressful, has baggage, childhood trauma. You know what I mean? Like we drag a bunch of stuff with us into the realm of shopping. So I think it can be helpful just to hear someone else talk it through and integrate these different types of reasoning into one's own worldview when it comes to making decisions. And I also think there is a difference between buying something new and all the decisions that go into that and coming across something in person in a thrift shop or a consignment shop or otherwise secondhand. And so I wanted to offer some content specifically about that. Thank you for being here and spending this time with me. I appreciate you so much. And I hope that you are appreciating yourself, sitting with yourself, and taking really good care of yourself.